All right, my friends, so now the fun is finally here. The day of reckoning. What's the best strategy in terms of every scenario under the sun from 2001 to the end of 2017 when it comes to taking 5% a year off your portfolio? We're going to find out here today. I can't wait. Look at that. I mean, Mona Lisa, take a back seat to this right here. I love it. Don't you love it? I mean, how awesome is that? I mean, it's just art right there. I love it. And I did it. It's pretty cool. And hey, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I actually enjoy this. I hope you get a lot out of this. So don't forget to subscribe. Please subscribe. And of course, thumbs up and comments are always welcome. So what we're going to do here, just a disclaimer. Could I have screwed up some numbers? Sure, absolutely. This is not rocket science. I did not have any PhD in statistics look at it. I have my Excel spreadsheets with the formulas I put in there. They all look pretty good to me. Could I have transposed incorrectly something from an Excel spreadsheet on here? Sure. Maybe that's 223 as opposed to 232. I don't know. Did I look at it? Yeah, I looked at it pretty in depth. Did I look at it with a fine-tooth comb to make sure there are no mistakes? No. So be advised, take this as a caution that I have not guaranteed the validity or the accuracy of any of this stuff other than my own ability to do Excel spreadsheets and put it up on the board. So you look at your own stuff, and if you want to, I don't care. But I'm not changing it because I'm pretty comfortable with what we got here. But anyway, so what we're doing, 2000 to 2017. Why are we using 2001 to 2017? Why are we using 2001? Again, it's because that's when the Vanguard Inflation Protected Securities Fund was incepted. It's actually incepted in 2000, but it didn't have a whole year until 2001. And I wanted a whole year to look back and everything else we compare to it as well. Secondly, that's a good time to start too. So we got rid of a small front end year of 9%. The S&P 500 was down in 2000, but we did go into a down year of 2001 and 2002. The S&P 500 was down 12 and 22% respectively. So again, the sequence of return risks are still with us for sure. Just we missed out on one of those three of the bad years to start the decade, but we still got hit in 2008. No getting around that. 2015 to a little bit for bonds particularly, but it was a good decade, or actually 18 years, 17 years, because we got hit pretty hard on the front end. We kind of recovered, then we got hit again, and then we had a nice bounce from 2009 on forward. Bonds didn't do as well. Interest rates stayed real low, and so a lot going on for the last 20 years or so that can be reflected very, very well here. And I think it's good. This is a wonderful time to do your back testing on investment research for sure. Going forward, as always with bonds, you just got to be careful because bonds are pretty easy to predict. And right now the interest rates are pretty low, a lot lower now than they were to start the millennium, whatever the century is. But anyway, it gives us something to go on for sure. So let's dive into this. How else I want to introduce this? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 different investments. Vanguard Index Funds, we got Vanguard Life Strategy Funds, Vanguard Active Funds, and then we got Franklin Income Fund and American Funds. So we got 4 actively managed funds. We have an active managed portfolio where we're actually managing the portfolio using Vanguard Index Fund with their index. Well, their bond fund is an index fund per se, the inflation adjusted one. We have the Ginnie Mae, it's not an index fund. But let's dive right into this. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different scenarios. I actually had a 7th, which I didn't have enough space, I didn't think, to put on the board. The number of down years, so we'll share that with you. The first scenario, we're not taking any withdrawals. We just dumped $100,000 in this account. What it looked like after 17 years. And the VFINX, that's the S&P 500, was 282. The Vanguard Inflation Protected Bond Fund was 232. Ginnie Mae was 212. Total stock market index is 306. So adding those small caps gave us another $24,000 on the VFINX. So that's something that you need to really take to the bank for sure. Adding those extra diversification and small caps really paid off. Now, if we did a 50-50 S&P 500 and VIPSX, we have 257, so we have basically a half between. I mean, that would make sense. VIPSX was 232, S&P 500 was 282. A split of those two was 257. right smack dab in the middle. If we switched out VFINX with VTSMX, the Vanguard Total Stock Index, we increased our portfolio by $12,000. I mean, again, just if you're going to go VFINX, switch it out with VTSMX. I just inherently makes sense. Now, we'll see some downside, what the downside looked. It won't be enough to keep you from not doing that. That's the first thing that has come to this whole exercise. Now we did Vanguard Total Stock Index with the inflation adjusted bond fund, and we rebalance it every year. A pretty significant difference. Here we added 21,000 to what we had without the rebalance. So again, no rebalance, with rebalance with VTSMX and VIPSX, we actually came ahead of just the Vanguard 500 alone. Rebalancing is a big deal. That's all that's showing you is how big of a deal rebalancing is. You have 50% essentially less risk because inflation protected bond funds is guaranteed by the federal government, and yet you came out ahead of just 100% stocks with a whole lot less volatility. So rule number 2 that we come up with here, switch out VTSMX or VFINX with VTSMX every time. 2, if you're going to have a portfolio of stocks and bonds, you got to be rebalancing it. This shouldn't be anything that you're not aware of, but there's just proof in the pudding. We made out better with a rebalanced portfolio with less risk than 100% of the VFINX. That's I was surprised, to be perfectly honest with you. So now let's go down to the Vanguard Life Strategy funds. Life Strategy Growth Fund, we're at 258. Now again, Life Strategies funds have stocks, bonds, international and domestic, and of both sides. So they have international stocks, international bonds, domestic stocks, and domestic bonds. So much more diversified than any of these guys here. But that didn't help us here. I mean, so here's a growth fund, which is 80% stocks, the moderately growth, which is 60%, and the income fund, which is 20%. And I mean, the Ginnie Mae the income fund just squeaked out a little bit better performance than the Ginnie Mae, and so that does with a lot more risk. So that didn't do much for me there. So the VIASIX left a lot to be desired, as did the Ginnie Mae, to my chagrin. VASGX and VSMGX, they're within spitting distance of each other, so it's really just a matter of the risk you want to take in terms of the volatility, and we'll go into that here in just a second. At the end of the day, though, it's within spitting distance, not anything to write home about, and they are rebalanced automatically each and every year. But again, look at VIPSX. It smoked VASIX. VASIX, again, is the Vanguard Income Fund, 20% stocks, 80% bonds, and yet VIPSX smoked that by $15,000, even though VIPSX is 100% guaranteed stocks. Another thing to put in your peace pipe and smoke there. If you're going to go VASIX, in this case, for the last 18 years, the inflation protected bond fund would have done you better, significantly actually. That was interesting. So I would cross VASIX off my list. I guess that's where I'm going. But we're not done yet. We're going to see about these other areas. Now let's go into the 4 actively managed funds. All right. So here we got the Wellesley, which is roughly 35%, 65% stocks to bonds. Actively managed, about, I think it's 25 basis points, incredibly cheap. Wellington, which is the exact opposite, roughly 65-35. The Franklin Income Fund, very notorious, good fund, about 35. I mean, that has preferred stocks in there, so 30 to 35% stocks, 8 to 10% preferred stocks, and then the rest in bonds. And then the Income Fund of America, and from the American funds. And both these funds, probably 55 basis points the expense. So a little bit more expensive than these Vanguard funds, but at the end of the day, Wellington outperformed all of them for sure. American Income Fund of America outperformed the other 2, which that's not shocking because the other 2 had more exposure to stocks. But the facts are Wellington, American funds, Wellesley, and then Franklin each had way more income, or not income, but each had way more portfolio value than anything, to include the Vanguard Total Stock Index, even though these 4 funds have more bonds in there, so in theory are less volatile. I was actually quite amazed at that. I'm actually 100% amazed by that. There's just no getting around that. It was very interesting. I mean, here's Wellington, smoked the total stock market. Wellington smoked the S&P 500. Just it'd be hard to make an argument if you're accumulating that you should be in these over the Wellington Fund, even though Wellington's actively managed, even over the Wellesley Fund, even though Wellesley's actively managed and a heavy predominance of bonds. Never mind American funds and Franklin. It just I don't see how you can make that case. I suppose you could, but I just don't see it. Now, with Vanguard rebalancing, I mean, look, so here you got Franklin Income Fund at 319, and we're rebalancing between total stock and the total and the inflation protected index or securities fund. And here's Franklin is actively managed as 0.55 or 0.6 is the fees, and yet it has a significant less exposure than this right here to stocks, and yet that gave us an extra $30,000. You just can't write off active management when it comes to this. You just can't. I mean, look at that. That's a fact. Now, this is just the accumulation side, my friends. All right, so we're going to look at the other parts of this as well. I can't get too caught up in here because don't forget, we're still going to pull 5% a year off and see what it looks like. So let's go over here, and we're going to see the average returns of these funds. And what we'll see here is the S&P 500 at 6.28. The total, not total bond, that is the inflation protected bond fund at 5.09. Ginnie Mae at 4.5. And again, the Ginnie Mae, the big problem with this guy in particularly is that the rates right now are so doggone low. The last 3 years, it didn't break 2%. And I don't see how you're going to get over that going forward. I just don't see it. So that's a big deal. This is actually back. The earlier part of the essentially 2 decades really boosted the Ginnie Mae. The latter part really set it back just because the interest rates are so low, and there's frankly no getting around that going forward. I'd have to write Ginnie Mae off. That bothers me, but at 1.8, 2%, maybe you're going to squeak out 2.5. It's just you can't. That's not going to get the job done. Inflation protected bonds don't have much of a yield, but it comes down to the inflation that they're expecting. If we're expecting inflation, that's going to be your friend. But again, even that bond fund, I'd have to be a suspect simply because the rates are so doggone low. But for the two, I'd take the inflation protected every time over Ginnie Mae at this stage. Total stock index gave us 6.8. Total S&P 500 gave us 6.28. So that might not seem like much, but that 50 basis point difference was a difference in $24,000. So again, doesn't seem like that much difference, but in terms of real numbers, that's $24,000. That's real money. Here's the S&P 500 and the looking at the S&P 500 with a half in that, and then half in the total the inflation protected bond fund that gives 5.7. Here's the S&P. Here's a total stock index with the inflation protected bond fund that gave us 6. So again, that's the difference between 5.7 and 6.0 was a difference in $12,000. I mean, that's just if you had the S&P 500 as opposed to the total stock index, you're leaving money on the table, or you were leaving money on the table. When you rebalance it, look at this: 6.47 to 6. So if we rebalance the total stock index with the inflation protected bond fund, that's 6.47, significantly higher than just non-rebalancing, and definitely significantly higher times 2 than the S&P 500 without rebalancing. So the rebalancing of these two funds gave us another $21,000 of real hard cash that we had at the end of the time frame. Relative to the S&P 500 without rebalancing, that's $33,000 difference, my friends. That's real numbers. Here's VASGX at 5.75, VSMGX at 5.60. Again, 15 basis points might not seem like much. $6,000. That could be gone in 2 seconds. That's not a huge differential there. Here's 4.69 on the VASIX. So again, that just barely beats out the Ginnie Mae. It doesn't beat out the VIPSX. That would be tough again to. It's just going to be tough with the rates the way they are. It'd be hard for me to argue in that one right there, for sure. Here are active managed funds. We got the Wellesley. Again, that's heavily into bonds, and that gave us 7.09. We got the Wellington. That gave us 7 3/4, which I think was our best. Yeah, the Wellington was our best, beating the S&P 500 significantly and beating the total stock market index significantly, and that's what you want to see. Here's a Franklin 7.08, and then here's a Income Fund of America at 7.51. So in terms of total performance, the active managers did much, much better than anything else, even the ones that we can concoct with our own total stock bond, total stock index fund, and the inflation protected fund with the incredibly low fees. The Wellington just smoked us all for sure. Then followed closely by the Income Fund of America by Vanguard. The worst years, here's the S&P 500 was down 37%, whereas the total stock market index was down 37.04. So the S&P 500 actually had worse than the total stock index. Ginnie Mae's worst here is only 2.23, so that does give you somewhat of a reprieve, knowing that the Ginnie Mae didn't kill you, which is good. The inflation protected fund had a bad year at 8.92. I think that's 2015, my friends. Can't remember. I just neglected to do these three just because I didn't feel like it, to be honest with you. Have to do all those calculations. To be honest, I don't remember, but I just didn't want to do it. So I'm not sure what the portfolio negatives would have been on these guys in terms of their worst year, but let's just put it this way. It's between... it's going to be no more than 37% here. It'll be, well, there you go, no more than 37% worse on any of those, simply because that's the worst the S&P 500 did. It's probably 15 to 20%. I kind of messed around with that, never got down to the real calculation. It's probably 15 to 20%, but don't hold your breath. Here is VASGX. Again, this is the more diversified with international stocks, bonds, and domestic stocks and bonds, and that still suffered at 34.39. Not that far behind the total stock or the total the S&P 500. And then here's VSMGX at 26%. So here on the VASGX, which is 80-20 stock to bond, you squeaked out $6,000 more, but you had a pretty significant more volatility there in terms of downside. I hear this all the time, though, but here's the deal. Do you really think someone who's down 26.5 is all that happy because someone else is down 34.39? The answer is not. I'm just telling you right now, oh, I was down only 26 and you were down 34. Ha, ha, ha. No one's happy about that. I hear all the time, my fund didn't do as badly as yours, or I beat the market because I was only down 34% and the market's down 37%. No one cares about that. I'm just telling you right now, I wouldn't get suckered into that right there, simply because that's not, they're all down a quarter to more. Now, this is down more than a third of the capital. This is down more than a quarter of the capital, but no one's happy in this day, at that stage. So don't fall into that trap that, oh, I'm only down 26%, you're down 34%, I'm doing better. Or I beat the market because I was only down 26% and the market was down 37%. No one cares. I'm just telling you right now. So because of that, between these two portfolios, it'd be tough to make an assessment of which one is better, simply because less risk in terms of volatility on the 60-40, the moderate growth income fund, or the moderate growth life strategy versus the VASGX. It just had pretty significant downside, and that's just all there is to it. VASIX again had averaged 4.69, so not a great return, but it had less volatility than most of these other funds there for sure. But again, between the two, Ginnie Mae and VASIX, the Ginnie Mae would win outright if you had started in 2001, because it had less volatility and not a whole lot in terms of less upside performance. So you would have ended up at 212, where the VASIX would end up at 217, but the VASIX had 4 to 5 times worse of a down year. Again, this will be different going forward because, again, the Ginnie Mae and all bond funds really are using a lot of their beginning of the century when the interest rates are much higher than they are today. And that really helped them a lot on all these numbers, just because interest rates aren't what they are now for what they were back then. So it'd be hard to argue in favor of the VASIX over the Ginnie Mae, given these previous numbers. But going forward, I don't know how you make a case to argue in favor of the Ginnie Mae over the VASIX. I just don't think you can make that case. I wouldn't make a case for either of them, frankly. There was other options, and here's Wellesley, perfect example. Wellesley actually had less volatility in terms of down market than the VASIX, and yet Wellesley smoked it in return. Wellesley got 7.09, VASIX got 4.69, and Wellesley had $103,000 more in the portfolio than the VASIX, even though it does have significantly more bonds. So I'm telling you right now, significantly more stocks. So it had more stocks and less risk. And again, risk is relative. Risk, in my opinion, is the maximum downside you got hit during the horrific nature of 2001 all the way to the end of 2017. And Wellesley never broke 10% or more down, which is frankly amazing. I'm stunned by that. I'm stunned. And yet Wellesley ended up with $320,000 of income, of a total cash value at the end of the time. Again, it historically guides us, and it really can't. We all say that past performance doesn't mean anything, but it gives us a gauge. Wellesley just stands out by far head and shoulders above all the other, more conservative funds. No getting around that. Now here's Wellington. Wellington smoked Wellesley in terms of 7.75 to 7.09, $37,000 more in the portfolio, but it had a significant decline in 2008 relative to what Wellesley did. So going in, if you're going to Wellington, you got to understand significant down market risk relative to Wellesley, but potential for much higher on the up end. Now look at this. So Wellington smoked the S&P 500, smoked the total stock index, but yet had less downside risk than either of them. Significantly less downside risk than either. Significantly less downside risk than the VASGX or VSMGX. Talk about shining light shining city on the hill. These two guys right here are it. There's just no getting around that. Finally, look at the Franklin and the American funds. Both had significantly higher downside risks than Wellington or Wellesley, and yet the Franklin fund is more like Wellington, and that's about 35% stocks and 65% bonds, which is kind of what Wellington is. But again, the Franklin fund, I guarantee, I can't guarantee anything. I presume they had a lot of preferred stocks because it's income. They're looking for income back in 2007, and those things got hammered in 2008. I bet that happened to them, which is really why they took it on the chin there. I hate to say it, but I think you got to, I don't want to say, but if I had to choose, I'd choose these two over that guy any day of the week, just because of what happened. Then 2008, they got caught with their pants down, and that affected them deeply. And going forward, the fact that Wellington and Wellesley are a whole heck of a lot cheaper than Franklin Income Fund, I just don't know how you can choose Franklin Income over Wellington or Wellesley, that's for sure. Look at the difference. $319 in Franklin, $320 for Wellesley, and yet significant difference in downside risk. 9.84 in Wellesley and 30.51 in Franklin. So Franklin's much more volatile over the last 18 years, but it has nothing to show for it for that volatility. So, who knows what will be going forward. And last, we got American Funds, Income Fund of America. Again, one of my favorite funds, but much higher volatility relative to Wellington, 7.51 to 7.75. Split in distance of net performance, 343 to 357. Different management, different asset base in terms of how the portfolio managers run the portfolio. But at the end of the day, you're not going to go wrong with Income Fund of America, I don't believe. It's going to be tough. Here you look at 7.51 to 7.75, 343 to 357. Just a little bit higher income down year the Income Fund of America did. But of the two, you got to go Wellington, in my opinion, for sure. And again, the fact that Wellington's 25 basis points and the Income Fund of America, I think it's 55, is just another reason to go with the Wellington Fund over Income Fund of America. All right, so now we're going to look at what happens with a 5% withdrawal. So that's just taking the cash and reinvesting it, taking the cash and reinvesting it. So now what happens when we do a 5% withdrawal? Well, here, S&P 500, we had $117,000 left over. All right, so we had $117,000 left, and we're able to take $72,817 in total income. So I probably should have done the both, but if you combine those two, we had 117, 118, and 72,000. That will give us, I'll tell you what. Let's just grab my trusty calculator here and see what that gives us as a net result. We're just going to say 118 plus 73. So we have $191,000 in total income and what the portfolio is left over. So there you go for the S&P 500. Let's compare that to this right here. Here's a total stock index. Again, we have 11,000 more in total cash value, and we had 6,000 more of total income. Again, of the two, you got to write off the VFINX and just go straight to the VTSMX. I mean, there's just no getting around that. It performed better in every single category over the last 18 years, 17 years, 18, I can't remember. But anyway, I mean, the proof is right there in the pudding. VIPSX versus Ginnie Mae, and it's not even close. VIPSX gave us basically 10,000 more of income and had roughly 10,000 more of remaining portfolio value after those 18 years. A little bit more volatility in 1 year, but I hate to say it, that's absolutely worth writing off Ginnie Mae and going to VIPSX. There's no two ways around that. So the Vanguard funds, the total stock index and VIPSX, the bond, that's what you should do. Write off VFINX, write off Ginnie Mae, and just go with those ones. If past performance reflects anything going forward, I have no idea. But given what I know about the interest rate cycle now with Ginnie Mae, I don't see how you could own that over VIPSX. And given the fact that diversification still means something, I don't know how you could own S&P 500 over VTSMX. Facts are they had less volatility. There's no other way around that. Not much less. Less volatility, more upside potential, and that's the story right there. If we look at S&P 500 with the VIPSX and total stock index with VIPSX, again, the total stock index beat S&P 500 by $5,000, and with more income, just again because the VTSMX beat the S&P 500 pretty significantly for sure. When we rebalance, it's a pretty significant difference here. We got another $9,000 of rebalance money if we use the total stock index to rebalance. I didn't use the S&P 500 to rebalance because it wasn't worth my time. It's not worth your time either because we know that total stock index just dwarfed the S&P 500, rebalance or otherwise. We had more money left in the portfolio, or more income in the portfolio from the rebalancing, and we had more money left. It's just, again, if you're going to do VTSMX and VIPSX, it really be worth your while to rebalance if history proves anything. Let's go to the life strategy funds. The VASGX gave us $79,000 of cash. The VSMGX gave us $82,000 of cash, and the VASIX gave us $85,000 of cash. But if we look over here, the VASGX has about 22,000 more in total portfolio value than VASIX does, even though we only had 5,000 less in cash. There you go. Again, VASIX for income. I'm sorry, you got to write it off. There's no other way around that. I mean, yes, it had less volatility, but I don't know how. I mean, you're having a smaller and smaller cash base in which to draw money from. And it's going to get progressively lower because the interest rates are so low, and because of that, you're going to be diving deeper, and this income stream will continually go down. We got Wellesley here, gave us $102,000 of income and left us with a portfolio value of $134,000. I mean, you just can't shake a stick at that. Wellington gave us almost the same amount of income actually more income than Wellesley did, and simply because it has more upside. And we have $16,000 more in portfolio. So for Wellington versus Wellesley, if you can handle a base of 0.25% of your capital loss, then Wellington would be preferable. Wellesley, you only had a 10% decline, and you didn't sacrifice a lot of income over the last 18 years, $300. You did sacrifice a little bit of total portfolio value, about $16,000. That might be a trade worth making. I'll leave that for you. I don't have any thoughts on that. For me, as a more aggressive investor, Wellington takes the cake, but Wellesley looks pretty good as well. Let's go to these two non-Vanguard funds, the Franklin and the American funds. Both gave us a little bit more income than the Wellington or the Wellesley. I was actually kind of surprised by that. Both gave us a little bit more income, a couple $1,000. And Franklin had less income than Wellesley, but it gave us a little bit more income. It just, that right there is your big, that's the big bogey. I mean, so you basically had a little bit, same income, roughly a little bit more important, same income, excuse me, this is income, Same portfolio value, but the Wellesley had about a third less volatility. So I would go with Wellesley over Franklin Fund, Income Fund, just because that right there. A third less downside risk with roughly the same income and just basically roughly the same portfolio value. I don't know how you make a case over Franklin over Wellesley. I just don't see it. Income Fund of America had a little bit more income than either Wellington or Wellesley, had a significantly higher, more portfolio value over Wellesley, but had lower than Wellington with more downside risk. And so as much as I love American funds, and I do, I think at the end of the day, you'd have to go with Wellington. I don't see how you can make a claim for Income Fund of America over Wellington. One of those numbers for the last 17 years show you. I mean, it's pretty close. I won't yell at you if you went American funds over that. I would say if you chose Franklin Income Fund, I'd wonder what you're doing there when Wellesley is certainly a superior place to look for sure. All right, so lastly, at the end of the year, and this is where the bond funds really start taking on the chin. Here's Ginnie Mae, the last 2017, and it only gave us $46.79 in income. That's not going to get the job done. And then here's the VASIX, the income, the Vanguard Life Strategy Income Fund. It gave us $4,700 as well. And I didn't show you here, but if you go back to the videos, you can see those income streams are gradually going down each and every year, because these portfolio balances are dropping each and every year. Remember, we're taking 5% a year off the portfolio. If we're only getting 2 to 3% income and interest, it's not you really are dividend principal. You're taking 5% a year each and every year, and you're not making that back as an income stream. That means the portfolio is going to be going down and down and down. I mean, it's going to be exhausted, and your income stream would be going down and down and down as well. So if you had these as a reprieve from the dastardly markets of 2008, that's good. But in terms of what you're trying to accomplish, which is building sustainable wealth, sustaining your wealth is not happening in a portfolio that's losing its value and losing its income stream. So I think from an income perspective, you got to write these off for building sustainable wealth, because you're not. Your wealth is being depleted in front of your very eyes. It's too bad, but that's what's happening. VIPSX, I have to say, is along the same lines. Now, you do break above the $5,000, but again, we started in 2001 with $100,000, and we wanted to take $5,000 out because that's 5%. And basically, even with VIPSX, we're down $3,000 in terms of total portfolio value, and we're still at $5,000 of income. So basically, what that means is we didn't do anything, and we were able to take $5,000 a year out roughly. I'm just using that for an example, but we're only back to where we started, and we didn't grow our income. That's not sustainable. Now, we didn't lose like Ginnie Mae and the VASIX are losing, but we're slowly but surely losing as we go forward. And that, again, because the interest rates are so low. Now, this is adjusted for inflation, so if inflation does rear its ugly head, VIPSX should be beneficial for that. But I mean, again, look, we have a little bit more income totally. 51.21 versus Ginnie Mae 46.79 versus VASIX at 47.97. Man, so of the three, you got to go VIPSX. There's just no getting around that. But you just got to be careful. So here's VIPSX with rebalancing on VTSMX, and look at that. We have a pretty significant. We have 63.90 as income. That's over $500 a month, and we have a portfolio value of a 121. So that's significantly better than the VIPSX alone. So that's the way to go right there. Rebalancing, 63.90 was our income, a higher portfolio value relative to VIPSX, which is only 51.21. It just shows you have to have. The net result is you have to have stocks. If you want your income to grow, to sustain it, you got to have stocks in there, my friends. And this, I'm telling you, this makes even bonds look better because the interest rates are so good to start the beginning of the century. Here's total stock index. We got pretty good income from that. Again, I'm writing off VFINX as just a total stock index. Our last year is $6,700 of income. S&P 500 is 6,207. And every single stretch, VTSMX outshined S&P 500. No getting around that. Again, stamped it on your forehead, tattoo it on your back, whatever. But over the last 18-year stretch, in every single category, VTSMX beat the S&P 500 every single step of the way. Income is $500 a year more than it was on S&P 500 as we ended 2017. Account value was more by 11,000 than it was in the S&P 500 as we ended 2017. Total income was more than S&P 500 as we ended 2017, and even volatility was a little bit less. So it goes to show you S&P 500, no. Total stock market index, yes. Total stock market index with VFINX, yes, and rebalance it. That makes sense. Or simply just go to Wellesley. Look at that, 7,000. Now these guys are all in the 7,000 range. Wellesley has given us 7,000 a year in our last year of income. Wellington gave us 7,800. Franklin Income gave us 7,040, and American Income Fund of America gave us 75. I mean, so these are all active management. Look at Wellington, 7862 with an ending portfolio value of 149. You just can't shake a stick at that, man. Income Fund of America, 7548 with an ending value of 143. It's a crapshoot what's better. My preference would be Vanguard simply because it has done a little bit better and the fees are a little bit lower. And you can buy it with Vanguard directly. With American funds, I think you got to go with an advisor and pay a commission, which is not being reflected here. So of the two, I got to go with Wellington. No other way around that. Wellesley is a second. I mean, look at that. 7,052 of income, $133,000 of net portfolio value with only 9.84% down cycle. Whereas total stock market index is a third one. That gives us 6741 within spin distance of Wellesley, but it had 37.04 as a down. I mean, you got to go with Wellington and Wellesley. That's at the end of the day. The two funds you got to choose are Wellington and Wellesley. There's just no getting around that, my friends. Every single thing reflects that. Wellington and Wellesley. If you're willing to take basically a quarter of your portfolio to be lost in any given year, but you're willing to accept that, I don't see how you can beat Wellington. I don't. I look at the total stock index, and as much as I like it, Wellington did better in every single stretch. 306 to 357. That's just reinvesting dividends. Performance 775 to 680, and I love the VTSMX. That's just reinvesting everything, and yet the Wellington with its 30 to 35% bonds smoked at the total stock index, and I love the total stock index. Now the total stock index did better than most other things, but in terms of these portfolios, it did not. I would actually probably take total stock index over. I don't know. I just don't know how you don't beat Wellington. You can't. I mean, I'd love to see it, but for what we're showing here, Wellington's active management, but it's without question the shining star in the hill. Followed secondly by Wellesley. I like American funds, but we've already got that beat with Wellington. And then secondly, if you want a little bit less risk, the Wellesley did it. It did it without sacrificing a whole lot of upside. You certainly have more income than anything else except for these two other funds, which has significant higher risk on one in 2008. So to wrap this up, at the end of the day, I don't see how I can beat Wellington. Does that mean you go out and buy it now? I'm not. Look, you have to leave it up to you. But I've run the numbers. The numbers are just shining the superiority of Wellington Fund. No other way around that. I mean, that's Wellesley comes in a close second. I don't have any other solution for that. I will now. I'll do another series where we're going to start at 5% and adjust each year for inflation. Here we're just doing 5% of what our portfolio balance is. So the portfolio is 100, we're taking 5%. Portfolio is 200, we're taking 5%. Portfolio is 50, we're taking 5%. I'm going to show you going forward in another series of taking 5% to start in 2001, because I already got the numbers in there, and then adjusting it each year with a 3% inflation, see what it looks like from there. But for this series, Wellington takes a cake, bar none. For that series, remains to be seen, but we can put a wrapper on this and seal it and send to sender and say send to sender and say return to sender. Our answer is Wellington. Second place is Wellesley. Third place would be the American Funds Income Fund of America, and fourth place would be Total Stock Market Index. There you go. All right, I hope you like this series. As always, if you do, thumbs up, comments, subscribe, the whole thing. Go to my blog at heritagewealthplanning.com. If you find value out of this, and you want to hit the little PayPal link on the very inconspicuous, but you go to PayPal, you can send money my way. I'd be happy if you want to pay for a cup of coffee. I'd be happy to take your money for sure. You don't get any tax breaks. It's not taxable to you, but if you want to do that, by all means do. If this was valued of $5-10, throw $5 or $10 my way. It'd be much appreciated. And I guess that's it for the time being. I appreciate you hanging in there, guys. We'll see you next time. Thanks now.